Hello and welcome to another video. Today's video I will be showing you an assortment of cards that I've made, plus we'll make one at the end. So feel free to stick around, especially if you were fond of the set I used earlier, the Whale Done stamp set. So for today, the one thing I wanted to make sure to bring to your attention is that Stampin' Up! Is currently having a promotion where in July, between the days of the 1st of July 2020 to the 3rd of August, for every $50 that you spend, you actually get a code in your email for $5 off in the month of August from the 4th to the 31st. And so whatever purchases you get in $50 increments, you can actually apply to essentially next month's purchases with that rebate. So essentially it'll make your future costs, should you wish to add other things in August, it'll help essentially cut those costs with the coupon code. It does get emailed to you, so make sure once you get that email that you save it. Some people even like print it off, because if you have accidentally deleted it, I believe sometimes that they can help you, but that's not always a given. So just a heads up there. So I put together a series of cards where my goal was to try to use just $50 worth of materials tops. There were a few where like I went over just a smidge, and then I'll let you know for each set of cards what is assumed you already have, because there are a couple of things, like for example, for a few cards it would be kind of, you would expect that you would have like scissors ahead of time, right? Paper snips, or a paper trimmer. So I'll let you know all of those as we get to those cards. So let's go ahead and start by sharing what I have created. So let's start with this one. This one is simply stamps, ink, and paper. It uses the beautiful friendship stamp set, and I created this one. And you would think, well, how do you get all of those colors when stamp pads are $7.50 a piece? Well, Stampin' Up! Right now actually has and they haven't really done this number in the past, they actually have these classic stamping spots assortments of 8 different colors. And so I made sure to use only colors from this pack. So I used Gorgeous Grape, Granny Apple Green, Flirty Flamingo, and Daffodil Delight to be able to create this. And the only other thing I used obviously was my paper trimmer in order to, so this is actually a panel that I put on top, a paper strip here for my sentiment, also in that Gorgeous Grape. And I did use a few different sizes of blocks, but as long as you were pretty stable, you should be able to use just one easily enough. And for the size of these two here, you would need to have a size D block, which is our pretty versatile block that if you don't already have it, I do recommend it. So just a heads up on how to make that one, which I thought was just absolutely, like, the vibrance of the colors is really fun. This collection of colors, stamping spots, are very, very more in the brights category, which is very nice. So I made that one. Then I made I thought, oh, well, some people might be really into note cards, and I thought, well, the Country Home stamp set is absolutely lovely. Plus, you know, some of us might be yearning for the month of fall. So I actually used a note card, and I think if I was to make this over again, I'd probably shift this down and I'd probably overlay that on top. I think this would be detailed enough where I think it would have made it okay, but I don't know. So that could be a thing to try for future times. And obviously with this case, because I have a matching envelope, I wanted to color it as well. To color this, I actually used the again, well, because the idea is to get the biggest bang for your buck, right? So I actually used here the watercolor assortment number 2. You get all of these beautiful 10 colors for $12.50, and I made sure to use only those. Though if you wanted to get a few extra, there are 3 extra colors here in this stamp set, which you could have absolutely used to color this, or in this stamp set, I'm sorry, in this collection here, you could have used these colors as well instead if you only, if you wanted to choose between one or the other. So for example, if one of your favorite colors is Old Olive and that you really like that green, it might be more worthwhile to get the first assortment first, and then maybe as you have make more purchases, you could always add this later. So I used these watercolor pencils, and then I actually used the blender pen to blend it all together. So again, note card and envelopes, blender pen, stamp set, and watercolor pencil is all I used for this. This is one of those where I assume you would have a block for this. So there's that one. The next one I actually made with, I wanted to challenge myself to only use a punch. Oh, hello. Goodness gracious. Sorry, dropped that one. I used this one here. Let's flip it. I think this might be, well, so here it's the vase builder punch. So you can kind of, sorry for the flashing lights there. So it has essentially 3 vases, 3 vases, a little flower, and then what can be used as like a leaf here if you wish. And I thought, you know what, I will challenge myself. So I punched it out. I focused on the subtles colors. I thought, you know what, this peony garden DSP would make very, very nice for our, like a backdrop. So because I saw this kind of color and I was like, ooh, that kind of looks like wallpaper almost with how kind of busy it is. And then obviously this looked like a marble countertop. And so I thought that I would essentially make an assortment of vases, and then I kind of went for trying to make this look like bluebells. And then this, I kind of made the leaf here look more like a stem, more like a leaf. I used an assortment of the colors. Luckily, the Subtles collection actually has 2 types of sort of green colors. You've got your soft seafoam and your pear pizzazz. So I thought that that would be a nice kind of, a variety of ways. And notice I did not actually put a sentiment in this one. This one, it would be free to use for any kind of thing. You could even, if you had a sentiment already at home, you could even like add one here, or remove more vases and have fewer ones and put your own sentiment there. I thought this was kind of a fun take on my personal challenge of don't use a stamp set, try just a punch. Then move that. So next, I wanted to show a different technique. Again, sticking with, this is, I think, the one that I technically went over just a smidge, in that I think it's technically a little bit closer to 60, but you could definitely make it closer to 50 if you wish. So this one would actually be less expensive to make because I used the shimmer paste here, the shimmer embossing paste, but I did not use a re-inker. So our re-inkers are $3.75 for our ink, for like our ink pads and markers. And so if you wanted to save a little bit, you could absolutely, I think can you see the shine on that? I think you can see the shine. So I turned this one, essentially what I could use as a wedding card here, congratulations, isn't this lovely? I loved this pattern here, which comes from our mask pack here. It actually comes with an assortment of styles. So this is called our basic pattern decorative masks. So it comes with polka dots, which I used. I made this one, wanted to add ink to it to change the color to show you that you could, and then I had leftover ink, or leftover paste, so I actually made another card, and I intentionally left kind of the corners more bare there, in part because I was running out of the paste, and in part because I thought that it made for a neat little combination. So I used this one for these two, so notice it's very intricate. And then I used the polka dot for this one. And then there are 2 other patterns for those of you who really do like patterns. It is in the catalog. So we've got this, which is kind of a, I don't know, sort of leafy pattern. And then we've got the final one, which is a more woodsy, tree trunks pattern. Or, yeah. So we've got an assortment here, which I thought was a lot of fun. And you could definitely use it in in a variety of styles. You could use different colors. So if you already had a re-anchor for, say, your favorite color, you could definitely use it for that as well. I also used Whisper White as my card base, but this is a lot of fun to play with different colors because the paste is actually white. So even if you used a darker colored cardstock, the white paste would still show up. The darker you color it, the less it's going to show up, but it's still going to show up because it has a white base, which is a lot of fun to do. So I turned this one into a wedding card, this one a thank you. You shouldn't have, but I'm glad you did. And then congratulations. These are the moments we look back on with joy. So this one I made using the Peaceful Moments stamp set. I like this one because it has some things that can go on the inside or the outside, really. So things like life is better with a friend like you could go on the inside or the outside. You could have happy birthday and then have this on the inside, right? There's a lot of variety here. So I liked that, and I thought that this would make for a fun take in terms of a different type of card that you may not have thought that you could do. And I can definitely, in the future, I'm going to make a card using this technique to show you how to use it if you are a little unsure of how to do it. So what I wanted to make for our card, I thought that my vase card looked nice, but I thought, hey, for this next one, let's highlight some DSP, in that a lot of DSP can speak for itself very well. So I'm using my thick Whisper White card base. It is 5.5 by 8.5, and I'm scoring it now at 4 1/4. So there's that. And I am using, like I kind of hinted at it before, the Whale of a Time 6x6 paper. I've shown it before. It is absolutely beautiful. Look at those. Especially if you have any kind of friends who are into nautical themes, this is really nice. I also like that there's some style cards or DSP that's like a little bit more like this. Could be any age group. I mean, that sometimes any age group, the whales might seem a little bit more juvenile, but really I think it still is pretty passable for any person you might make this card for. So for today's card, I found this piece right here, and I thought these sea turtles are beautiful. I could layer this right on top, and then while looking through the DSP, I found this page which has the same sea turtles but bigger. So I actually cut them out, and I cut out 3 of them. So I've got this little guy, that little guy, and this tiny little guy, and I thought I would superimpose them on top using mini dimensionals. Let me get those handy here. So there's that. So let's go ahead and get started making this card. So I'm just using, look at that back paper, isn't that beautiful? So we're going to go ahead and do that. And if you were one to want to do something a little different, I actually kept a sliver of the same paper. We're going to put it on the inside, but if you wanted to, you could even have cut this card base down to have it peek out from the front as well, if that was more your jam. Let's see here. There we go. So there's that. And you might be wondering, well, you don't have a sentiment. And that's true. And I realize now, having already glued it down, I've got to get it right. So I'm using one of the colors in this Stamps ink DSP is Pretty Peacock, one of the in colors from last year that is carrying over this year. So I thought it would be a nice dark color that would actually show up. So let's go ahead and take a stab at it. Whoop. Hey, look at that. So I used the stamp set, the sentiment, my love for you is bigger than the ocean. And I thought that would be really nice. So let's go ahead, actually, while we have it out, here's my strip, and I thought I would glue it right on the inside. So it's like as you open it up, it kind of carries the theme through. And I did not cut it down from 6 inches because I actually wanted to cut it down with my snips. I wanted to make sure that it fit properly before I cut it down, and I trimmed it. So you just lay it on. I usually pick a corner and make sure that that corner is completely ready, and exactly where you need it to be. And the reason I used the Tombow for this card is actually because it has a little wiggle room, so it lets you really line it up flush. So notice here there's no overlap. This little piece right here, you take your snips and you trim that right on off. There we go. So there's that, and now all you gotta do, whoops, hello. All I gotta do is superimpose these little guys, and I thought these mini dimensionals would be perfect for that job. So there's that. Oops. They seem to be really wanting to land in my lap here. And I really want them to be able to stay well. So I'm actually gonna be a little generous with my mini dimensionals here. I feel like this guy is so small. I liked the Blackberry Bliss on this turtle, though. Alright, look at that. Barely fits. So, and then the nice thing, too, is before I actually take off the backings to these guys, I'm actually going to take some time to position them and see where I want to place them. They are the same, so like if you were checking, you'll see it's the exact same as this guy. So if I put him too directly close, it might look a little weird. So I kind of want to make sure there's a little bit more like I might want to block him so he looks like a little bit more, I don't know, unique. Then like maybe like that, and then have this little guy. Hey, I like that. Here, let's use my scissors. It's a little, yeah, I like that. So I'm gonna do this and keep it exactly the same. My nails are a-okay to take this off, though if you struggle to take the backings off, I do highly recommend getting a take your pick tool, because this piece right here is really good at taking those backings off. You essentially just stab those little suckers and they come right off. There we go. There's that. Do the same for this one. There we go. And last little guy. Boop, boop, boop. And there we go. And with that, this is an example of a card that really doesn't take too many materials. You might even have some already, but like even this general pattern you could still do. There are plenty of papers. So for example, here, let's use, if we look at the Peony Garden paper, for example, there are a lot. So like here, for example, the back of this side, right? If I really wanted to, I could absolutely cut one of these peonies out by hand and use it as part of my card, right? Like I could do the same thing. I could pop up one of these peonies on the card, right? I could use, you know, say this gray piece here as a backdrop. I could add a layer of the pink. I could cut one or two or an assortment of these and have it popped up, and then with a sentiment on the bottom, and have just a really lovely card where I really didn't need a ton of materials, which is really, you know, that's one of the perks of having so much color coordination, is that it allows for a lot more variety. So, and then just the one last thing I wanted to say, in case you are a beginning stamper and you are interested in these items, the things I've suggested, I did want to mention that if you have very few materials, what might be worth your while in terms of investment is essentially I've put together a very small list of, and maybe if you did have another 50 to spend, what might be recommended, especially if you didn't have much. So the first is our paper trimmer. Our paper trimmer is fantastic in that it has two things. It has our actual cutting blade and a scoring blade. This arm here extends out. Oh, hello, there we go. Out to at least 17 inches. So it's great for cutting down larger papers. One of the really neat things is, so if I put this up here and I lay it here, notice how it's flush with this piece. this is exactly 6 inches. So it can cut your 12-inch DSP very easily down to 6x6 or other sizes, things for like bags and boxes. So I do recommend this. This is $25. And that could be that would be like half of your value there. The paper snips would be the next thing. These are 10. They are fantastic. Obviously, if you already have your own scissors, you could invest in something like our snail, or not our snail anymore, our Stampin' Seal instead. If you haven't yet tried our new tape runner type of adhesive, I highly recommend it. Then obviously, if you haven't already, the Tombow liquid glue is phenomenal. As you can tell from my cards, you really don't need much and it lasts so long. Like this bottle, like it's seen better days, and yet there's still so much left in it. I suspect that this will probably last me until I'm starting to make Christmas cards. Like that's how long it lasts. I recommend getting a package of, here they are, dimensionals. These come in multiple sheets. I think it comes 3 to a sheet. Yeah, 300 of these in one package for $4, which is a bargain considering how sometimes I will use many on a card and they still seem like they last forever. Plus for me, for example, I use these sides as well, especially for like popping up long skinny sentiments. And then I would recommend a D block if you haven't already. They are at $8.50, so they are a little bit larger in terms of price point. So like this guy's I think $7. The C block, yeah, see, this guy is $7. So for the whale card, for example, this sentiment would have fit on here, but this is pretty versatile for our other sized stamps. So that being said, if you have any questions at all, or you need any help with any of these items, for all of the cards I've shown, my blog post will have a link for each of the items individually. I will also include what is assumed that you already have, so that way you can accommodate for that. So for example, if for the card using the embossing paste, for example, assumed that card assumed you had dimensionals. That I don't believe that one was factored into the cost of what it would take to make that card, right? So that being said, if you need anything, please let me know. If you do make a purchase and you use my host code, you will be receiving goodies from me in the mail, and I will let you know what that is ahead of time. Then I think that's really, yeah. If there is some type of technique or card style you would like me to make with the added challenge of trying to keep it in that $50 range so that you could try to make it and capitalize on this bonus days, feel free to let me know in the comments below so that I can get started on that challenge. And if you have anything that I can clarify, feel free to let me know. Go ahead and subscribe if there are other videos of mine that you would like to see in the future, as I have lots of tip videos that are going to be coming up really soon. My goal is to start doing weekly tip videos for those of you who are getting familiar with your stamping products, so that you can essentially avoid the errors that I have made in my stamping journey. So I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.